Hello, this is chapter 8 of United as One. Never post anything on the internet. It's like rule number 1. Granted, all of us have broken rule number 1 at some point and ended up hunted by mocks as a result. Because sometimes desperation outweighs your desire not to be stupid. It happens, no judgment. But man, it's dumb to post things on the internet. The video, obviously shot on a cell phone, begins with a thunderous rush of water. A massive waterfall that I instantly recognize as Niagara Falls appears on screen. Whoever's filming this is standing on a grassy outcropping level with the waterfall's drop off. Oi, it's bloody loud! The camera gets jostled as whoever's holding the phone jogs away from the waterfall. In those few seconds of the bouncing around, I am able to pick out a few details. A blonde girl who looks like she should be yodeling on a six-pack of imported beer stands near the edge of the cliff, right next to a jagged protrusion of otherworldly blue stone. Laurelite. A new growth, just like Ella said there would be. Before I can examine the stone too closely, the camera steadies and is turned around so we can look straight into the pock-marked face of a grubby teenage boy. He's gaunt with a mohawk that's bleached nearly white and patches of peach fuzz stubble. He wears a torn-up denim vest covered in patches, a ratty tank top, and while I cannot see his feet, I can almost guarantee he's rocking combat boots. Of course, I recognize him from the telepathic Sumit. Ella held for us. He's one of the kids who seem most eager to heed John's call to action. Even though he moved away from the edge, the kid still has to yell to be heard over the waterfall. Hello, John Smith and super friends. You out there? Nigel Raleigh here. We met at, the thing. Found your bloody stones and, it's been a real laugh popping around the world and all. But at what point are you lot gonna come pick us up? It doesn't surprise me at all that these international Gargi are lost and confused. John told them to come help us, and Ella explained that they could use the Laurelite stones to teleport around the glove simply by picturing a location. But Sister Kasra crashed our meeting before we could give them any concrete idea on how to find us, which isn't exactly an easy task considering we are in hiding. I ran into a couple of others while taking the tour, eh? Nigel continues, and turns the camera to pan around his surroundings. Wave to John Smith, protector of the world and absent big brother who has apparently forgotten to fetch us. Behind Nigel, the blonde girl I caught a glimpse of before waves. Next to her, there's a stocky boy with a shock of brown hair who waves awkwardly. I recognize him immediately as the German from the meeting, Bertrand, the bookkeeper who can control bugs. Also standing a little off from the others is a frail-looking Asian girl who stares blankly into the camera before tossing up a half-hearted peace sign. That's Flair and Bertrand, Nigel narrates. And over there, well, I think she calls herself Ran. Doesn't speak any English, that one. Not since your mega psych bird with the glowing eyes stopped with the translating anyway. Nigel flips the camera back around to himself. So look, we are at Niagara Falls, if you haven't figured that out yet. I memorized as many spots on the map you showed us for 5 bloody seconds as I could, but I have never seen or been to the States, so I had to bop around Europe for a bit until I meet old Bertrand. Pick up some other tag-alongs on the way. Nigel blows out a sigh. A lot of weird places on your map, John Smith. New Mexico? What the hell does that look like, eh? Stupid, I bet. Bertrand was here once for a family vacation, so... Nigel lowers his voice. If you read me, Major John, we are waiting for a pickup. If not, well, I guess we'll just start walking towards the nearest alien battleship and hope for the bloody best, eh? Cheers! And with that, the YouTube clip ends. It's attached to the comment thread on the video Sarah made introducing John to the world, and it's already got a ton of likes and views. Nigel posted his video about 3 hours ago. Me, John, Adam, Nine, Ella, Sam, and Daniela are all huddled around the cell phone that Daniela swiped from one of the soldiers. We are all crowded into John's room. Before we start the video, I couldn't help but make note of some of the grim details of John's room. The bed hasn't been slept in, and there are scorch marks on the kitchen wallpaper like he punched the wall with his lumen on. Nobody remarks on this, although Sam does raise an eyebrow when he catches me looking. Dip some flair, Nine says as soon as the video is over. I elbow him in the ribs, and Daniela makes a face. You're nasty. I'm lonely, Nine replies. This video was posted 3 hours ago, Adam explains, ignoring Nine. I've been monitoring Mogadorian transmissions, and it seems like they have just picked up on it. The closest warships to Niagara Falls are in Toronto and Chicago. They'll be sending in skimmers. Posting on the web, Nine says, clicking his tongue. Rookie mistake. We've all been there, I say. So, the Mucks have a head start on us. Let's get some jets and get out of there. We want to keep this quiet, which is why we're hiding out in here, John replies. Better if we do this ourselves without Lawson's people knowing. I give John a questioning look. I'm not sure what his intentions are with the human Garge, John elaborates. Until we decide he's on the level, I want our people to be the ones bringing them in. I don't want to leave it up to Lawson to decide who's ready to fight and who needs this protection. Oh, hey, what kind of mentions are you worried about? Daniela asks. Oh, sorry. Whoa, hey, what kind of intentions are you worried about? Daniela asks. I don't know, John says with a sigh. Compelled enlistment into a secret military organization. Who knows? You learn not to be so trusting of people in power when you've been through what we have, I tell Daniela. She nods. Sounds totally sketchy. I've already reached out to Lexa telepathically, Ella says, her eyes still sparkling with lyric energy. She's getting her ship ready. Nice, Nine says, and claps his hands. Let's go save some newbies. I need you to stay here with me, John says to Nine, and immediately Nine's face falls. Aw, come on, Nine replies. What the hell for? You think I wouldn't rather be out there fighting? John asks, his tone resigned. We have got preparations to make if we are going to sneak our way onto a warship. I need your help with that. Six can handle Niagara Falls. You know it, I grin at John, feeling as eager as Nine to get back out there and fight. I look around at the others. The rest of you in? I should stay back and monitor the mock communications. They don't know we are listening, so I'll be able to tell you what their status is, Adam says. I'm also supposed to be with Malcolm and some of the engineers about replicating the clocking devices. I'm with you, Sam says to me. Me too, if that's cool, Daniela replies. And me, says Ella. That makes everyone pause. I watched Ella die just yesterday. I'm not wholly sure that she's ready for combat yet. She must pick up on that vibe, probably because she can read our minds. Ella puts her hands on her hips. If the Mucks get there first and these other Garge have to go on the run, I can track them telepathically, she says, a note of defiance in her voice, which is still all resonant and legacy-like. I'll be fine. Good enough for me, I say. Me too, John adds. Take the Chimera with you. We'll take a couple, I say. Not want to leave you guys without a backup here in case something else goes down. John nods. Just make sure you're packing enough firepower to knock out whatever the Mucks send. Oh, don't worry, I tell him. We're gonna do more than knock them out. 15 minutes later, we're in Patience Creek's underground garage. Like the rest of his dusty hideout, the garage isn't as sophisticated as the other militarized places we've seen, particularly the ones augmented by Mongolian tech like Dulce and Ashwood. Still, the garage is big and high ceilinged, with enough space to store a convoy of armor, Humvees, and a couple of tanks. I expected the dome ceiling itself to open up and a ramp to extend for an exit, but the old-school spies who built this place didn't roll that way. Instead, there's a huge tunnel dug into the wall, barely lit and nothing fancy, just thick sections of lumber holding back the hard-packed dirt. The tunnel's wide enough to bring a tank through, and it leads to an innocent-looking cave a few miles away from Patience Creek. If the little bed and breakfast that hides all of this is in the middle of nowhere, then the cave exit is to the east of nowhere. Basically, you never catch us coming or going. Lexa flew her ship through the tunnel last night. She managed it, even though it was a bit of a squeeze. She's already got the ramp extended and the nose pointed towards the exit when we enter the garage. On our way here, we picked up two of the Chimerae from Malcolm Good's small laboratory. To hear them talk about him, most of the military guys think Malcolm is some kind of eccentric genius. Maybe he is, in a way. The bunch of random animals he keeps as pets haven't done anything to dissuade folks that they know from that notion. Even though while Walter and her team know about Chimerae from our run-in back at Ashwood Estates, we have still tried to keep their existence quiet. You never know what some of these overzealous government types might get up to if given the opportunity to experiment on an alien life form. We take Regal, whose preferred form is a hawk, and Bandit, who sulks around as a raccoon. The other Chimerae stay back with Sam's dad, watching as he runs an unending series of tests on the Mongolian cloaking device, trying to figure out a way to copy its frequency. Adam's with him, making the suggestions on what Earth-made technology might be able to match the signal. So far, they have had no luck, and neither has the team of military engineers working next door to them. In the garage, Lexa comes down the ramp to meet us. Good to go? I ask her. Just finished the diagnostic, Lexa replies. We pushed her pretty hard getting out of Mexico, and she took some shots from the Anubis. All girls ready to fly, though. Daniela shakes her head and stares at the ship. I'm about to ride on that UFO, she says. Yeah, you are, Sam replies. He flashes me a gentle smile, then leads Daniela and the Chimerae on board. Like me, Ella doesn't follow them right away. She takes a deep, shuddering breath, glances at me with her flickering eyes, and then trudges up the ramp. I hesitate until Lexa touches me on the elbow. It's all right, she says quietly. I cleaned everything up. I nod at her. So many bad memories on this ship. I know, Lexa says. When the war is over, you can help me destroy it. I smile at the thought, both of us wrecking the ship and the end of the war being over. I climb up the ramp, following the few steps behind Alexa. At the top of it, I pause to look around the rest of the garage. There are a handful of soldiers smiling around down here, making sure the vehicles are all in working order. I know they have seen us. Some of them are even outright watching us. However, none of them show any sign of trying to stop us. Back at the elevator, I noticed Caleb and Christian. They were not here when we first entered. Someone must have reported our presence, and those two came down to observe. They both stare at me, their expressions blank. I smile and wave, even though they kind of give me the creeps. They don't acknowledge me at all. So Lawson knows something is up and that we are leaving the base. Oh well, that's John's problem to deal with. Inside the ship, the passenger area is spotless. Using the touch screen controls that cover the walls, Lexa extends some bucket seats from the floor and everyone straps themselves in. Under the floor, the cots are hidden away, including the one where Sarah Hart breathed her last. My mouth suddenly feels dry. I hate being back here. I take the co-pilot seat next to Lexa while she powers on the ship. Sam comes up behind me and leans down, his hand on the back of my chair. You okay? He asks quietly. I'm fine, I say quickly. Sam looks over his shoulder, as if trying to imagine the grisly scene that took place here just yesterday. He shakes his head. I still can't believe it, he says. I keep expecting her to just, I don't know, pop up somewhere, alive. When Sam trails off, I turn to Lexa. The Mocs have a head start on us, I tell her. We need to get to Niagara Falls in a hurry. Oh, don't worry, she replies as she slowly amps up the power to the engines. We'll go fast. Lexa glances back at Sam. You better get strapped in. I put my hand on top of Sam's. Let's focus on the people we can still save, okay? Sam takes one last look at me before he retreats to the passenger area and puts on his seatbelt. As soon as she hears his belt click into place, Lexa thrusts forward the lever for acceleration. Here we go. The ship zips forward into the tunnel. Aside from the whoosh of air, the takeoff is completely silent, the engines purring calmly even as we rapidly speed up. There cannot be more than a couple of feet of clearance between us and the walls rushing by. There are a few times where I swear I heard the ship scrape the tunnel. Lexa focuses straight ahead, handling the curves like she's done this 100 times. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, I hear Daniela muttering behind me. We round a gentle curve and there's the sky, a white dot at first that gets bigger and bigger as we scream forward. And then, with a release that feels almost physical, we are out in the open air, gaining altitude, soaring first over a dirt road and then the Lake Erie. I cannot help but let out a relieved sigh as we leave the claustrophobic tunnel behind us. Fast enough for you? Lexa asks with a grin. Yes, Daniela shouts from the back. You could have waited until we got out of here to really open it up, I say, although I can't help grinning back at Lexa. Where would be the challenge in that? She replies. Even with Lexa flying us at the top speed, we're still about an hour away from Niagara Falls. Once it's clear that the course is set and that we're on our way, I unbuckle and pop into the back to check on the others. I'm sorry. Much like the ride back from Mexico, Ella is curled up with her arms around her knees and her eyes closed. Interestingly, the Chimeri seem drawn to her, both of them huddle at her sides. I wonder if that's because of the lyric energy flowing through her, or just because she seems like she needs a bit of comforting. Across the aisle, Daniela watches Ella like she's trying to make sense of her. She looks up at me as I walk over and nods in the younger girl's direction. What's with her? She asks cautiously. Ella opens one eye and interrupts. I died yesterday, for a little while. Oh, Daniela replies. And then I bonded with a godlike entity that is still kind of inhibiting me. Okay, that's normal. It's taking some getting used to, Ella admits, then closes her eyes again. Daniela gives me a wide-eyed look as if to ask if all that was for real. I shrug and Daniela lets out a breath, slouching low in her seat. Man, I should have stayed in New York. We had aliens, yeah, but they were not zombie aliens. Not a zombie, Ella says without opening her eyes. Next to Daniela, Sam has produced an ancient-looking handheld video game for one of his pockets. Turn on, he whispers instantly to the video game. Turn on. He looks up when he senses both Daniela and me watching him. What? He says. I cock my head to the side. Why do you have that? That thing's from the 80s. You cannot talk to it, dude, adds Daniela. I point at the game. There's a power button on the side. Though you say you didn't have any batteries anyway. I thought you said you didn't have any batteries anyway. Sam looks briefly flustered as we pepper him with some questions and comments. He takes a deep breath. I found some, Sam replies distractedly to Daniela, looking at me. And I didn't bring it to, pass the time before we saved some people. I brought it to try recreating what happened before. In a room? Daniela raises her eyebrows. Oh, what happened in your room? Sam made the lights flicker, I reply. Did he now? Daniela says, grinning at Sam until he blushes a little. Literally, he says. I think, 6 things that I might be getting another legacy. Like maybe I can control electronics or something. Daniela crosses her arms. Man, that's way better than Stone Eyes. I take a seat next to Sam, so he's between me and Daniela. Then lean forward to look at the older girl. How do you know when you were getting a legacy? I ask, wondering if it feels different for the humans. It felt like the head was gonna explode if I didn't. I don't know. Let it out? Responds Daniela. My adrenaline was pumping. It all happened fast. That makes sense, I say. Happens like that a lot. They tend to kick in when you really need them. Your instincts take over. After that, you learn how to fine-tune them. Daniela listens to me, then leans back and starts massaging her temples. She stares intently at the wall across from us. Yeah, I can feel it in me now. I could do it again if I wanted to without so much pain. Please don't turn the ship into stone while we're flying in it, Sam says, then faces me. My telekinesis came when John was about to get mauled by a picken. It'd be nice if I could get this new legacy down um, with the whole death-defying situation thing. I mean, if the legacies manifest when we really need them, I'd say right now, considering the situation the whole planet's in, we really need them. So keep trying, I say, motioning for Sam to look at this retro Game Boy. Maybe imagine something horrible is about to happen. He frowns. Shouldn't be hard. Sam goes back to speaking insistently to his video game. Nothing happens. Every few minutes, he closes his eyes and grits his teeth, like he's trying to get himself into the right mindset of panic and terror. Sweat beads on his forehead. Still, he cannot get the video game to turn on. I lean my head back, close my eyes, and listen to his mantra. Turn on, turn on, turn on. We're about 10 minutes out. We're about 10 minutes out, Lexa calls from the cockpit a short time later. I open my eyes and glance towards the cockpit. The cockpit seat is now occupied by Regal, the hog perched on the back of the chair, his eyes straight ahead as we zip through the clouds. Ella is still resting her eyes on meditating, I'm not sure which. Meanwhile, Bandit paces back and forth across the aisle in front of us, anxiously waiting for us to land. Daniela watches the raccoon pace, looking a little nervous herself as we approach what might be a battle. It occurs to me that this is all still extraordinarily new to her. She hasn't even had her legacies for a week yet, and now she's got to get used to charging into dangerous situations alongside shifting alien animals. Don't worry, we can handle this. I lean across Sam to tell her, even though I have got no idea what we'll be facing once we arrive at Niagara Falls. I'm good, Daniela reassures me. I turned to Sam to say something, but he cut myself off when I noticed a look of deep concentration on his face. His eyebrows are scrunched up, and he's staring down at the inner Game Boy as if it's his worst enemy. Turn on, he says through gritted teeth. I actually jumped when the handheld games chimes to life. Sam nearly fumbles the thing as he turns to grin at me. Did you see that? He exclaims. Nuh-uh, Daniela replies, leaning over. Your finger was on the button. It was not. You did it, Sam, I say, squeezing his leg. I'm thrilled for him, my own grin almost the same size as his. Ella opens her eyes to watch the zine, a small smile on her face. Congratulations, Sam. Did it feel different? I asked. Do you remember how you did it? It's hard to explain, Sam says, looking down at the video game almost like he still doesn't believe what just happened. I try to picture the circuitry. At first, it wasn't just like a made-up picture in my head. I don't know what the inside of the Game Boy looks like or how it works. But then, I don't know, the visuals started to get clearer and clearer. Like a blueprint was forming in my mind. At first, it was all made-up nonsense, but gradually, it changed into something. I don't know. Something logical? Like it was learning the machine. Or the machine was telling me how it works. Does that make sense? No, Daniela replies immediately. It sounds kind of similar to how I use my telepathy, Ella says. I shrug at Sam. Whatever works, do you think you could do it again? I think so, Sam says, and once again concentrates on the video game. This time, he raises his voice like he's scolding a badly behaving pet. Turn off. The Game Boy blinks off. Nice, Daniela says. You really are doing it. Instead of congratulating Sam, I tilt my head to the side. Something isn't quite right. The wind outside the ship is suddenly much louder. It takes me a moment to realize the reason why. We're falling, Ella observes. The ship's engines have stopped humming. Guys! Lexa's voice comes from the cockpit, a slight note of panic there. I've got some kind of malfunction up here. My systems just went dead. From the cockpit, I hear Lexa slamming the levers and slapping buttons, cursing when they couldn't do anything to turn her systems back on. Sensing trouble, Bandit scurries beneath the seat and puts his paws on his head. or he said, we're gliding now. And a quick glance at the window shows me that we are losing altitude fast. A golf course zooms by beneath us, a small town, a river. Daniela and I stare at Sam in unison. His eyes are wide. He swallows hard. Oops! And that's the end of chapter 8. Quite a long chapter, actually.